Hello, my name is Rob, and this is the
Hi,
Technophilia
Rob.
podcast.
It's
We're not
me.
allowed funny things like banter topics here. We just have to get straight to the point and talk about video
If you
games.
pick a banter topic, then it's not really banter.
I'm
It's
going to introduce my co-hosts.
pre-rehearsed banter. If you pick a topic, it doesn't count.
That's the voice of the beast from the Northeast, Dave LeClaire.
I like
Dave,
that.
how are you doing?
I like that. The beast from the northeast. That's
That's
good.
good.
I'm gonna be the
That's
beast from the
super.
northeast forever.
Also joining us today is the Vexen Texan, Rachel Laser Blazer Kaiser.
Hi, Rob. How are ya?
Laser blazer, like from the American Gladiators.
Rob.
My emotions are operating within the specified Technophilia
Rob,
parameters.
you sound kind of depressed. What's wrong?
Don't worry, the coffee will reach my core soon.
Rob loves coffee.
It's true. It's true. I didn't think I would be able to do this podcast without coffee, so 30 minutes before it, I ran out to Quick Trip and got myself a tall styrofoam cup
What's a
of
quick?
And there we
liquefied
go.
justice.
What's a quick
Kicking in.
trip? Is that like a 7-Eleven or something out there in Ohio land
Quick. First of all,
or wherever
I'm in
you
Missouri, sir.
live? Missouri,
And
Indiana.
second of all, Quick Trip is like the high, like, it's just like a really great gas station convenience store chain. Like, everything is
Wawa.
always clean. They have a huge variety of food. Like, they're the classy gas station.
It's like a Wawa.
What's a Wawa?
Same. High end.
Okay.
Which I don't have in Connecticut, but they have them like in Pennsylvania and stuff. So every time I go down and towards that direction, I'm like, man, all we got is like mobiles and whatever. They got Wawa.
It's the regional equivalent.
I guess so.
I've never even heard of Wawa, but admittedly, I haven't traveled to the Northeast much.
If you just Google Wawa, you'll find it. They have a storied history of people loving them, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Hey, I was informed before that we can't spend much time on this. We have to talk about video games. So,
Yeah.
Dave,
Yo.
you've been living the street racing lifestyle with Forza Horizon 2, Fast and Furious.
Yeah, so I think it's Forza Horizon 2 presents Fast and Furious. Let's get the
okay.
corporate branding correct here.
course.
So, for anyone who doesn't know me, I am a Fast and Furious fan on the level of borderline crazy. So I'm a little beyond just saying like I'm a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. So when this came out it's a free game for now on Xbox One. You don't have to own Forza Horizon 2. You just download this as a separate game and play it, and it's a fairly beefy game, and you get to take missions from Ludacris, which everybody loves Luda. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big Luda fan. And you drive in a Forza, the Forza Horizon 2 engine, which is a very solid racing engine, and it's a Fast and Furious themed game. It's pretty fun. You basically, it's kind of like a Grand Theft Auto type story, but without actually stealing. So Ludacris needs you to get 10 cars, 10 specific cars, and he makes a point of saying, we can't boost these cars, so you got to race for slips, which, in the Fast and the Furious world is a popular thing to do. You race for the title of your car. So in order
That's street racing jargon.
Yes. So instead of stealing these cars, you have to challenge the owners of the cars and win the cars and then deliver them to Luda. And I mean, if you like, even if you don't like Fast and the Furious at all, like you can skip the cutscenes and stuff, and it's just a fun free racing game that's a few hours long that gives the achievements out very, very liberally. So if you're a fan of achievements, you will get them quickly. Within the first 5 minutes of playing, I got a 100-point achievement. So yeah, I would say check it out. But also, you should check out the new Fast and the Furious movie, which just came out the other day and apparently broke some box office records and stuff, because that was a pretty decent Fast and the Furious movie, though it might make you cry a little bit.
So have you seen it yet, Dave?
Yeah, I saw it opening day.
I thought they've gone down a peg from where they where they were.
I mean, quality of movie-wise, like my favorite Fast and the Furious movies are the first one and Tokyo Drift. Tokyo Drift being my favorite, the first one being my second favorite. So I actually do like the Fast and the Furious movies that are about racing, not necessarily just being crazy and blowing things up.
I think I'm more of a 5 and 6 kind of guy. I feel like they've gotten better around that area.
Those were 3 and 4 on my ranking of the movies, with then number 4 being down there, and number 2 being absolute dog shit. The one without Vin Diesel is just a flaming pile of poopy.
So what's
Yeah.
the canonicity of this game? Does
Uh,
it fit into the movie timeline at all, or is it
Nah,
just a promo item?
it's just a promo item. It's just Luda telling you he needs cars and you going and stealing them, and it's got like little like spoken lines from a couple other characters in the movie. It's all just it's strictly to get you to want to see the movie, but in spite of that, it's still a really fun, good racing game. So even if you have no interest in the movie, it's still worth checking out just because it's a fun, free racing game that you can play on your Xbox. And let's be honest, there's really not a lot of other Xbox One games out there right now that anybody wants to play anyway. So
So you can say, hey, you know those awesome guys who pull off those incredible heists in the Fast and the Furious? Yeah, I'm their sidekick.
Yeah, your guy has a face in the car. They do show him in the car sometimes. He never gets out and talks, but he does have a face.
You are valet to the stars, I see.
But yeah, the Furious 7 movie made me sad because obviously the Paul Walker stuff.
Yeah, man. How about that tearjerker tribute?
Yeah, the ending is. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it or anything like that. But the ending, man, I did not actually cry, but I was. It definitely hit some emotional strings. More, not like I'm not one of those people who gets like emotionally attached to celebrities. Like I don't know Paul Walker, and his death really doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form in the long run. But it's more so the fact that I'm just sad that there isn't going to be another Fast and the Furious movie with the whole crew in it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
He cried. Dave cried. You can admit it, Dave.
I mean,
No, Dave's some kind of New York robot who doesn't have tear ducts. He's
also,
fine.
then again, I think back to the fact that my favorite Fast and the Furious movie doesn't have Paul Walker in it. So maybe I'm not that sad because Tokyo Drift doesn't have a single scene with him in it.
Oh, it has that drawly Western guy.
Yeah, but he gets to make a quick cameo in this one. I thought they were going to use him more when they announced that Lucas Black was going to be in it. I was like, yeah, he's going to be a part of the crew, but he's in like one scene where him and Vin Diesel are like, man, they said you was fast, but I didn't know you was that fast. And then Vin Diesel's like, yeah, who says muscle can't drift? And then that's his scene. So.
Oh, and then he delivers a certain item to Vin Diesel to advance the story.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yes, he does. He delivers an item, which
they don't fully waste it.
It could have easily been delivered by anybody else, but instead
Rob, you wanted non-video game banter? Here you go.
Instead, they're using a 35-year-old man playing a high school student to deliver said item.
It turns out if you bait Dave hard enough, you can get banter out of him. So, but let's move on. In this case, to me, I'm the next one. Hi, I rediscovered my inner child. You guys. So I was sitting there and I was like, man, I really hate what Nintendo has done with the Legend of Zelda franchise. I've not enjoyed a Zelda game since Ocarina. Period. Full stop. That series is dead to me. But I said to myself, I haven't given a Mario game a chance since, like, Super Mario Sunshine? So I decided to buy and digitally download Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS. And, Dave, you see those video cues? You see that professionalism?
Yes, on the 3DS, huh? That's a throwback, but I will.
A throwback? How's that?
I mean, I guess it's not that much of a throwback. It feels like that game came out like what, 2 years ago now or something.
2 or 3, yeah.
That's a throwback in DS land. That's a fast-moving console. People move on to the next thing.
That's
quick.
true. But published by Nintendo, so still full price.
Really, still full price?
Well, 30. I guess it probably launched at 40. I take that back. It was 30.
Jesus, that's still a lot though but I guess it's it's quality.
Yeah. But here's the scoop. So if you have any nostalgia at all for Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES, guys, Dave?
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
Yes.
Rachel? Yes? You should play this game because it's basically 3D Super Mario Brothers 3.
As you can see in the video on the screen right now, he is wearing a, what's it called, Tanuki suit or whatever when he's got the tail?
Well, they kind of merged the Tanuki suit visuals with the raccoon tail concept, so he can't actually turn to stone in this suit, but he can do the tail stuff and he can kind of hover down. Yeah. There's no direct flying because that would be tough in 3D with the limited level size. But yeah, like all of the music remixes are very much Super Mario Brothers 3 references. You can see those blocks in the background with Toad. Like those were featured prominently in like the first few levels of Mario. Those like big boxes with the bolts on them. So yeah, there's tons of visual and audio references to Mario 3. You have to fight those like mini boss Koopas who, like, when you bop them on the head, they like start spinning around and zip back and forth across the ground. And you got to jump over them. It's one thing after another. Like, everything about this game keeps taking me back to, I don't know how old I was when SMB3 came out, but like, I am a child again when I play this game. And another thing it's got going for it is there's a dude who's been in charge of the Mario games for a couple years now, and he's got this really like unique level design pattern that he's perfected. And I'll have to link this video to you guys at some point, but there's this great video that explains what he does. He has this like four-stage level design concept where it's introduce a new mechanic in a safe space where you can't die, then show the mechanic in a place where you can fail, then make the mechanic harder, and then put a twist on the mechanic before the level ends. And when you watch the video that explains it all, you see it everywhere throughout this game. But what it lets them do is introduce new game mechanics for a single level, fully explore them, and then throw them away before they ever get old. And so it's really neat that you're constantly just running into new things that you have to traverse that you haven't seen before, and you're always learning as you play. And since every level lasts anywhere from like just 2 to 3 minutes, it's just one new experience after another. It has filled me with childlike wonder, and I highly recommend it. Mario is not dead, you guys. Mario's okay.
Did anybody ever say he was dead? Besides,
no, but Legend of Zelda is dead to me. So
I feel like, what about the Zelda that came out on the DS, A Link Between Worlds or whatever? It's basically like A Link to the Past modernized. Isn't that Zelda good?
I haven't played it. I hear good things, but I hear good things about all Zelda games because that's all the internet ever says about Zelda games.
I don't know.
So,
a lot of people talk shit about the Wii one, Twilight Princess or whatever. I didn't like that game, but a lot of people talk shit about that game too. So I mean, it got its beating.
I feel like I'm surrounded by black sheep when I look for Zelda reviews. Everything is effusively supportive.
You gotta listen to Jeff there from Giant Bomb talk about Majora's Mask if you want.
Oh yeah. No, I've heard. Well,
listen to him and Dan go back and forth about Dan's blind love. Dan is one of those people you talk about who just blindly loves the Zeldas, and Jeff's like, dude, Majora's Mask is a piece of shit. If that wasn't a Zelda game, you wouldn't like it.
If you love someone, that doesn't mean you have to own every awful thing they do.
Right, exactly. So, if you want a good game on your DS, you should just play Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate.
Oh, here we go again.
What
is it this time, Dan?
Last week's banter.
I finally hit the high tier quests in that game. So you go through like 1 through 10, and 7 is where the high tier quests are. That game goes from like, this is hard, to like, that DS that I'm reviewing for Make Use Of, that's not actually mine, is in serious danger of not making it to the person who wins it with levels of rage. So,
yikes.
Yeah, that thing, I may be forced to buy it because I may end up throwing it out the fucking window.
Sorry, Make Use Of readers.
Yeah. So.
Well, that just means they'll get a totally fresh one, right, Dave? You're almost doing them a favor.
Yeah, they'll end up with a brand new one if I break this one, so. Yeah.
There you go.
I gotta control my rage, but I'm not here to talk about Monster Hunter, so just ignore me.
Right. Well, and we should be talking about the game that everyone and their dog is playing and is holding a fantastic 90+ review score on Metacritic. And Rachel has been kind enough to play that. Rachel's playing Bloodborne.
Yeah, I'm playing Bloodborne. Can you not tell by the lines on my face and my bloodshot eyes?
Has it prematurely aged you? Has it just like is it doing its worst?
Well, I still have to review it, but just as well, let me just put it this way.
Is it a little late for a review?
No, that's how I roll, Dave.
You are the worst. You're fired.
Dave, if I had a staff of like 20, like half of the other review sites on the internet, then maybe I could review everything on time, but
fired.
It has to be based on personality.
I hate you.
Well, actually, I think what you should be seeing in the video on Twitch right about now, or just before, is a new thing in Bloodborne that I don't remember seeing in any of the previous Souls games, which is a little safe area where you can buy things and you can upgrade, and you can upgrade your weapons by blood vials, or I don't know if you can buy blood vials. Those are this game's version of Estus flasks.
I hear they drop like constantly though. Blood vials.
Blood vials, yeah.
Like every enemy, not every enemy, but you know, they're not scarce.
My first thought was did I accidentally set this game to easy mode? Did I access the hidden easy mode? Then I realized it doesn't matter how many health potions you get, you'll run out eventually.
You're gonna take some beatings. So after playing Monster Hunter, I was like, maybe I didn't give the Souls games a chance. I'm all set. I'm gonna play Bloodborne. And then I started watching people play it. I don't think I could deal with those fucking load times. They're absurd.
That's actually my primary problem with the game is the load times.
Because you die a lot, and every time you die, it's like 45 seconds of waiting to come back. That's absurd. I don't think I could play it because of that.
Last week, after I had some technical difficulties, I heard you all talking about getting me on Twitch, and I was thinking at first that this would be a great game to stream, but then I started playing it, and every time I die, like you said, there's quite a long loading time, and while I'd be happy to fill the gaps with my own mindless chatter, it's not an insignificant time to wait.
Yeah, like when you say a long loading time, you think like 10, 15 seconds, that's long. This is like sometimes pushing a minute. Like that.
I didn't have it that bad, but even so, I also die a lot because I'm not the greatest Souls player in the world, obviously.
Yeah. So,
but how much does it say about this game that even with that, there are games that would get knocked down like a full point or a point and a half for a load time like that. Is it really so fantastic that you can overlook that stuff?
No.
Really?
I mean,
maybe not for me.
Yeah,
but
hardcore Souls fans seem like they can, but.
Well, I mean, I have some. Well, I don't consider myself a hardcore Souls fan. I played Dark Souls and a little bit of Dark Souls 2, and there are some differences. I like the fact that the gameplay is a little bit better than just a lot of blocking. There's a lot of patience. You still have to be very patient, otherwise you're going to get slaughtered. But there is an element of like you have guns, obviously, and you can use those to stun your enemies.
Which weapon are you using? Because I've seen
the cleaver.
The cleaver. Okay, that one seems to be the popular choice.
Yeah, well, every single melee weapon has transformative capabilities, so you can switch it from a short-range weapon to a slightly longer-range weapon, which doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference, but it means the world if you're going up against somebody with, say, a scythe, because they tend to wind up before they swing, so you can just get in and just, with a short cleaver, just poke stab them to death. Although, frankly, if I was actually using that, I'd be afraid because you open and close it by swinging it, by snapping it, and I'd be afraid I'd snap it shut and it would chop my fingers off. But we're not looking for realism in a Souls game.
You're ill-suited to live in the world of Bloodborne?
Oh, I think that was obvious.
So, Scudderman says all you have to do is install it on an SSD, which I've heard only decreases the load times by like 5 to 10 seconds. Which
I haven't tried that. I mean, I could give it a try if I were ever to stream the game. But
you'd have to buy a SSD and put it in your PS4, which is not exactly.
That's a good point.
That's not like that's like $150 investment to save 10 seconds. Like, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem worth it to me. Maybe I guess if you're dying a lot and those 10 seconds add up over the course of a couple hours of playtime, but.
Well, I mean, the bosses are still fairly difficult.
He was joking. But it does help from what I've heard. It's just
he's not wrong about the exploit that said if you leave it running for a significant period of time, the bosses just sort of their AI decays over time. I've not tried it myself because
some
I've
kind
not
of memory
had
leak. I think they've said is the problem that,
and it's probably going to get patched.
Only the Souls games could get away with this shit, though. Like,
well, and furthermore, there's also like the subset of people who say, look, these games are meant to be as tough as nails. If that kind of thing happens, like, it's not an exploit if you win. Like, that's the philosophy of certain Souls players, where it's like, oh, this boss gate is positioned such that I can shoot an arrow through the crack between polygons and kill the boss before I enter the room. That's not a bug, that's a feature.
Well, Souls players are weirdos, but yes, that is true. I don't know. If this came out on PC, because on PC I have an SSD, and I have a bunch of high-end equipment, I would maybe then consider playing it. But I don't think I'm I am an angry video game player, and well, I'm an angry competitor in anything. And when I lose or die or whatever, I tend to get very angry. So if I were to get super angry and then have to wait 30 to 45 seconds to try again, I would just be like, fuck this shit, and turn the game off and never go back. And I know myself well enough to know that that would ruin this game for me. Like, Monster Hunter pisses me off to no end, but it's from a DS cart. It takes 4 seconds to load in when I die, you know?
Yeah, I hope.
Well,
I hope they
have.
patch. Sorry.
Well, the difficulties I have with Bloodborne is also that it's not even necessarily that parts of it are difficult. I mean, I would consider difficulty to be like the enemies you're going up against have sophisticated AI and a lot of hit points. But in a lot of cases, I mean, particularly with the groups of smaller enemies, it's that they attack en masse. There's really not much of a chance to go up against them individually. In the cases of bosses, they have like really generous hitboxes to look out for. I mean, if you're just going up against 1 or 2 enemies, you can take them down no problem, because I mean, the ones with longer range weapons tend to wind up pretty quickly. The ones with shorter range weapons, where you can just switch your melee weapon to long range and just go to town on them. So it almost seems in some way, this is the problem I had with Dark Souls as well. I know, blaspheme, but it did seem to me that some of the difficulty at least was just players being masochistic rather than necessarily brilliance on the part of the game designers. The art design in this game, I will say, I like it a little bit better than Dark Souls. Because
It looks just beautiful, technically speaking.
Well, Dark Souls I always thought fell into the whole, trying to mix Tolkien-esque fantasy with Gothic. And in some places I didn't think it really worked. It didn't work in Dark Souls 2, I think. I thought Dark Souls 2 didn't look very good. But Bloodborne, I think, has this sort of, if you'll pardon the expression, blood-drenched aesthetic. Everything looks wretched, and because it all looks wretched, it looks great, if that makes any sense.
It takes you there, huh?
Yeah, although I think that I'm just seeing the stat screen. By the way, one thing I found kind of annoying, they don't really explain what a lot of your stats are in this game, at least when you're making the character. Like, what the heck is blood tinge? I know it's strength and skill, I can guess what vitality is, but what is blood tinge, and what does that do for me?
That's kind of part of the deal when you get into the Souls games, is they're deliberately.
I don't remember that being a problem in Dark Souls, though.
There are things that they refuse to explain that just, they're like, figure it out. I think people are saying that blood tinge has something to do with your gun, but I could be wrong about that. That's just hearsay.
Well, and similarly, when you create a character, the options you have for, I would guess, race or class, they don't really explain themselves very well. I mean, in Dark Souls, you knew which things were going to be rogues, which were going to be warriors, which were going to be the mages, and what was the all-around class. Then you had the deprived, which was sort of the... Well, in this game, they do have something similar. It's called the Waste of Flesh. I think that's what it's called.
The kind of start-scratch experience?
I got tricked into trying Dark Souls for the first time with a deprived.
Oh, goodness.
Somebody saying, if you can beat the game with a deprived, you can beat it with anything. Suffice to say, I did not beat Dark Souls with a deprived.
Well, can you... I feel like I haven't seen anyone playing female characters in Bloodborne. Number one, can you make a female character?
Yeah, I made one.
Okay,
I actually made mine to look like the classic English rose with pale complexion, long golden hair, blue eyes, just so it would look funnier. But unfortunately, she comes in wearing a hood and a full-body costume, so I couldn't see her. I was like, damn it! I wanted to look like Alice in Wonderland chopping people down.
Your face is kind of for your own satisfaction in that game, because it's mostly covered by things. And then have you had any invasions? Have you had any invasions or multiplayer experiences?
No, not yet. I mean, I'm still trying to poke the cleric beast to death. So that's the first.
Gotcha.
That's the asylum demon, so to speak. Once again, I feel like that boss is sort of. I think it's supposed to be like a Wendigo sort of creature.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care for the designs of the like mook enemies that you can chomp down. Just seems to be dudes. I don't know why I'm killing other hunters. I feel like we should all be teaming up and killing the beasts together, but that's apparently not going to happen.
Oh, the desperate survival experience of the Souls games. Well, I'll be interested. I kind of want you to come back to this on the show later after you have some multiplayer experiences, because that's such a unique part of this series. It's kind of forcible animosity multiplayer that you don't quite get to choose when other players get to mess around with you. That's part of the character of the game.
Yeah, as
So.
always with Dark Souls, what makes it difficult makes it is part of the character.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Speaking of the character, let's move back on to Dave. Dave's quite a character. Dave's been playing Apotheon.
Segue.
Oh, I'm practicing. I practice in a mirror.
So
I do.
this was a free PlayStation Pluser. Maybe I don't know what 2 months ago was it? I can't remember these things. I can't keep track. It is a man. How do you even describe what it's a Metroidvania type of game in that you can kind of open-endedly go around the map and it's a side-scrolling platformery thing.
Mm-hmm.
It controls like a dual joystick shooter, sort of sometimes.
You're throwing like spears or something, right?
Yeah, but you also just spend a lot of your time just hitting people with stuff with the R2 button on the PlayStation 4. So I guess it's like a Metroidvania dual joystick shooter with the ancient Greek feel and like a super weird art style. Everything's very dark and like kind of looks hand drawn. It is a cool ass game though. It is fun. I played maybe the first hour of it, I would say. Beat the first couple bosses and stuff. I had zero expectations going into it, and I was just like, I need to play something for the podcast is the reason I played this. And I was like, well, I downloaded this when it was free, so let me play it. And I liked it way more than I ever thought I would. So if you were like me and you go on the PlayStation Plus and you download all the free games knowing full well that you'll probably never come back to them, and this was one of the ones that you kind of just you let it slip by, I would say don't, because it's not super long either. It's a few hours long, 4 or 5 hours, something like that. So you can go through it pretty quick, and it's a fun game.
Are there like lots
Still
of new
free?
weapons?
There's like a million weapons, and you just pick them up on the fly as you go, and you can throw them at the enemies if you want to, or keep them. You can also buy and upgrade like your armor from the vendors. There's like a kind of like a hub city thing that you go to, so you can buy new armors and new weapons that you don't want to just throw away. And yeah, it's a weird little thing that is really cool. So I would check it out. I don't know if I'd buy it. I don't know if it's maybe it's worth buying.
So I take it it's not still free then?
No, I don't think so. I think this
No.
month is it's like, well, they're about to change it, but yeah, it's
Ollie 2, Oddworld New and Tasty, and Valiant Hearts are
That's
still
it.
the free ones right now.
So I was gonna play Valiant
Ooh,
Hearts,
Valiant
but
Hearts.
I didn't want to be sad, so I played this instead.
Yeah,
I know that game is all heavy and stuff, so I was like, I don't want to be all mopey and sad going into the podcast. I want to be fired up and happy.
You really do have to get them while they're hot, though. You know that like PS Plus is as much of a value as you make it. Like if you get in there every month and download everything they offer you on all the platforms you have, it can be pretty solid. But if you just keep forgetting things, it's easy to waste it.
Even if you just do it on one platform, even if you just do it on PS4, though, you're still gonna get your $50 a year. Well, plus if you have a PS4, you can't even really talk about the value proposition of it anymore because it's not optional.
Well, unless you don't want to play multiplayer online.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, but
yeah, but those people exist.
I mean, yes, those people do exist, but I feel like a very high percentage of people would prefer to have multiplayer.
Absolutely.
I mean, I haven't actually played an online game on my PS4 since I've had it, but I'd like to have the option to. And then, so the free games just kind of make it so that I don't feel bad about paying for having that option.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I've got to say, like, it has introduced me to so many games that I never would have purchased, but were perfectly fun games that I don't think of myself as, like, a person who plays, quote-unquote, that kind of game, whatever the genre was. But then it was free, so I tried it, and I was like, oh, man, I blew a couple hours on this thing.
I would have never bought this game if just, I would have been like, okay, it's like another one of those trying to be retro side-scrollers, they keep coming out, but I ended up having a ton of fun, and I'm going to actually keep playing it, so I ended up
Greek artwork. That's as old school as it gets.
Yeah, really. I wanted to, I wanted something to play for the podcast, and I'm actually I plan on playing through and beating the game, so it would ended up being more than just something for the podcast. So that's good.
I'm just thinking about some poor indie developer listening to our podcast and getting super depressed. Like, oh, you didn't even want to give my games a chance. You didn't even think he's gonna like them.
Well, I'm sure that they're used to that. They're, you know,
That's
if when you make a game with not a lot of marketing budget behind it, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to ignore it, and that is the joy slash not joy of making an indie game. But the people who do appreciate
I
it,
suppose.
Oddworld, that's got to be worth a play according to Scudderman. I mean, that's just a re-release of the original Oddworld games, right?
I played the original Oddworld.
Is
The
it? I
original
wasn't sure.
was really solid.
Is it a
Yeah,
re-release or
it's
a new? Is there any new levels or anything?
it's like HDified and cleaned up. I don't know if there's new content, but I know it's cleaned up and prettier. But yeah,
I have
PS
that
Plus
also.
/ games with gold continue to be good things that people should pay for.
Oh yeah, Games with Gold they gave Rayman Origins as I think free right now, and that is an awesome game. Or Rayman Legend. What is it? Which Rayman? It's the whatever the most recent Rayman is.
I've never been able to
Legends,
get into a
Origins.
Rayman game. I don't know.
Dude, they're
I think
really
it's
fun.
Legends.
Yeah, I think it's Legends. Either way, whatever one it is, it's free, and if you got Xbox Live, you should absolutely go download that because it's a great. And if you have kids, I played that with. I played like probably 4 hours of that with my my nephew who's like 6, and we had a blast. So
Oh, nice.
it's kid friendly.
Well, what I've the other thing that I've been playing recently, I got into the closed beta for Moonrise. Moonrise is so I don't know. Did either of you play State of Decay on PC or Xbox?
I've heard of it, but I
feel
never
like I
played it.
played it at some point.
So that's really good. And so the whole reason I was kind of turned on to Moonrise was that that it's made by the people who made State of Decay, but it's basically like phone / tablet game Pokemon made by the State of Decay guys. It's got more of a little bit more of a creepy aesthetic around the monsters. They're supposed to be kind of alien to you and unknowable. But it ended up pretty solid. If nothing else, the combat loop is deep enough and solid enough to be supportive of exciting combat. I think it needs a little bit more in the way of having a thing to do other than combat, because right now it's literally either you're PvPing or you're going around and you're fighting like random encounter monsters and dungeon monsters for materials and stuff.
This is like free to play type stuff. Or...
Yeah, it's free to play. It's currently in closed beta. I got a beta key by making an MMORPG.com account. But yeah, it's picture Pokemon, except every battle, instead of just being like most of the battles in Pokemon are like one monster versus one monster. In Moonrise, instead, it's either it's your party of 2 monsters out at a time, plus you, the character, like your human can like throw fireballs and stuff. And you're either fighting a group of 1 to 3 monsters or another trainer and his 2 monsters at a time. So it's got a pretty solid battle system. It's got one of those systems where like you issue a move and then it has a charge period and then it goes off, and people can be like interrupted during their charge up time and stuff like that. But yeah, it's got your standard like elemental weaknesses and stuff. The monster movesets are much more flexible. Like in Pokemon, they're much more locked to the monster's very specific anatomy, and they tend to be a little more closed. Here, I feel like I could stick, except for like the most limited monsters, I could stick most moves that I found to whichever monster I wanted. But yeah, it's got, like I said, the best thing I can say about it right now is that the combat is super solid. Like the combat itself is where it needs to be. The problem is that's kind of the only part at this point. So you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, I did all this cool fighting. So what's ahead next? Oh, more fighting. So that's one of the issues that it's got going for it. But it also grinds really well. So like once your monsters reach a certain reasonable power level, you can just like go into a wilderness zone, start a battle, and click the auto button, and your monsters will just like start fighting battles, and all you have to do is check in at the end of each battle and say fight another, and it'll just keep like bringing up the next set of monsters, and you can grind for XP or gold or whatnot. So you can accumulate the materials to advance your monsters in a very casual fashion. Like I'm playing on Steam. I was there were times when I was just like doing other things, and I would just like scoot it over to my other monitor, throw it onto auto, and just start going through trainer battles to gain money. So
like it's Goldberg. Sorry,
it's,
I just saw Goldberg in the video. I was like, yeah, it's Bill Goldberg, the wrestler.
it's got colorful characters. It's got a reasonable variety too of like ways your character can look, and there's some amount of like collecting dies and collecting new outfits and stuff to customize your visuals.
And you're playing on PC, not mobile.
Right. The key that I got was for Steam. But I'd say right now like I said, it's not done. It's still in beta. They've got the combat in a really solid state. I would say, if nothing else, because it's going to be free when it comes out, give it a try. But with the caveat of it kind of only has one thing. It is a one note, really fun monster combat thing. And there's little snippets of story in between it. There's a storyline to follow. But at the end of the day, they need a second thing. Like the last kind of monster fighting game I played on tablet was, what was it called? Monster
Fight Face Fighter Monsters.
No.
Free to play rus.biz.
.biz. I can't remember, but basically the last monster fighting game I played was a combination city / like monster ranch management thing. So you would go into your fights, and then you would see if you had the money to harvest whatever had grown up and start new buildings and things like that. And so that back and forth let you not get so tired of either aspect. Whereas in Moonrise right now, it's really just focused on the fighting, and so that leaves it a little under diverse. But yeah, check it out when it comes out. When it's free to play.
This combat system, it looks like the character's attacks recharge in real time.
Yeah. So there's instead of having like power points like Pokemon does, there's a cooldown on every attack, and the bigger attacks just have longer cooldowns. So you want each of your monsters to have kind of a smattering of heavy hits that take a long time to cool down, and then like quick things to get in while the big stuff's recharging, and then maybe a few status effects and stuff like that.
That reminds me of Child of Light, actually.
Yeah, same kind of thing. It's the same kind of system.
It's the same kind of, okay.
But it's like I've kind of specialized my monsters a little bit. Like they don't all fit into that mold. I have like a Rocky one that has like 2 defensive moves, and he's mostly casting shields on my party when he's out and I need to slow the pace of a fight. I have a big status effect guy to do like poisons and burns and stuff. So yeah, there's totally reasonable depth in the combat, and there's some PvP stuff, but I haven't tried it, so I don't know if it's like upload your party, and then when people click PvP, they just fight your party on the AI, or if you actually play another player in real time. I'd have to investigate that. But yeah, reasonably solid, and hey, what have you got to lose except a few megabytes of hard drive space? So, but onward to Rachel again. You've been playing Resident Evil Revelations 2?
Yeah, when I bought Bloodborne, it was a buy one, get one half off deal at Target. So I picked up, I hadn't planned to play Resident Evil Revelations 2 until all the episodes were out, and I'm pretty sure all the episodes are currently out. So that was my only motivation for getting Revelations 2. I hadn't played Revelations 1. I'm not really a huge Resident Evil fan. I've played the original, well, not the original, the remake of the original, the remastered, remade Resident Evil, or re-re-re. But I don't really have a whole lot of, and I've played Resident Evil 4, but I'm not really a huge Resident Evil fan, but the writing in this game is something else, and I understand it's Resident Evil. The writing has never been very good. I mean, this is, what was it supposed to be a joke in Resident Evil 4? Your right hand comes off? Oh my god.
There were all kinds of legendary dialogue botches in that first one. Like, is this Chris's blood? Or Master of Unlocking, or all those.
Yeah, so I can understand the writing is just not the best, but I was still having moments of like, where I would look at the character, sort of tilt my head and go, really? That's what you're going with? Like, oh, so you keep saying, Dave, but, well, for example, Claire Redfield and returning character Claire and Moira Burton, who is the daughter of Barry Burton from the original Resident Evil. They work for a nonprofit, a nonprofit that cleans up bioterrorist attacks. So all of the bioterrorist attacks in the last few games, like the one in Africa in Resident Evil 5, presumably the multiple outbreaks in Resident Evil 6. This is the company, not company. This is the nonprofit that goes in and cleans up, heals the people that are still in the area and haven't been infected by whatever virus the Umbrella Corporation is spitting out now. So, and then one day at a work function, they are kidnapped by armed commandos, and they are abandoned on a Russian island, at which point, when Claire finds Moira, Moira says, why have they taken us? We didn't do anything. And I sort of dropped my controller in my lap and said, really, Moira? Let's look at this. You're related to two of the people who took down the Umbrella Corporation. You work for an anti-bioterrorist, I guess that's the word they're going with in Resident Evil, crew, basically. This is not a mystery, Moira. Come on now.
Also, let's not forget that her name is Moira. What the fuck kind of name is Moira?
Moira, I believe, is an Irish name.
It hurts me to say it, Moira. Like
it's like moist. You can't say it and be comfortable.
Yeah, like my cheeks hurt every time I say the word Moira. But I did
apologies.
Yeah,
apologies to
the
the
Resident
Moiras.
Evil wiki.
But I heard
Sorry,
that there's
Moiras.
I heard there's a callback to becoming a Jill sandwich in there.
Yeah, Claire says something about that when there's a.
And she's like, Barry tells everyone that story.
Yeah, she's like, does Barry tell everyone that story? And I was like, okay, that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it seems like it doesn't quite have like enough self-awareness. Like you can't make jokes about your bad dialogue, but then also have bad dialogue.
You can if you're Resident Evil.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much the dialogue that it doesn't bother me. I just think it's worth noting how terrible it is. Just as almost as a way of saying it's okay, it's still Resident Evil.
But it's like $30, right, or something for the whole thing. Like something, isn't it cheap?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got it for half that, so I couldn't say it was a deal for me.
When you do now, I'm gonna critique your shopping decision here. So
Okay.
you bought a $60 game, right? And then for your half-price game, you bought a $30 game. Had you bought a $60 game for your second game, you would have saved $30 instead of $15. So you would have saved substantially more had you bought two full-price games.
But I would have spent $30, whereas I only spent $15 on my extra game.
Yes, that is true.
And besides, the only other game that was on the shelves the only other game on the shelves that was worth $60 besides Bloodborne was, I think, the new baseball game.
RBI. The Sony
show.
one, right? Yeah. I'm sure there's something else out there that you would want to play. There has to be. I refuse to accept.
Not for $60.
How
Dave,
about
you're engaging in the kind of trap thinking that makes people spend more money than they actually want to.
I remember many times like when GameStop would do like the buy two get one whatever, sitting there trying to like be like, okay, well this used game is $40, so I need to find other used games that are $40 to maximize my savings, to maximize my dollars spent for game value. So total cost $75 versus total cost $90, yes. But total value $120 versus total value $105. Wait,
Well, value is
total
subjective
value $90.
and value is subjective depending entirely on what game we're talking about.
Well, it doesn't sound like you love this game very much, so it doesn't sound like the value was super good. Oh God! Woo!
I think I would like it more. I think I would like it more if I had a co-op partner, which I don't at the moment, because there's sort of like a unfair co-op because, of course, one person plays as Claire, who gets all the heavy ordnance, and the other person has to play as Moira. And I'm gonna keep saying that just to piss Dave off. And the other person has to play as Moira, who basically gets a flashlight and a crowbar. And
hey, there's
that's
nothing
about
wrong
it.
with a flashlight and a crowbar. Those are now. So
Which-
this brings us back to the shopping thing, though. These are the things you should have considered before you made this value proposition that you purchased. You should have considered, well, this game would be better if I had a co-partner, and I don't, so maybe I should buy a $60 game and maximize my savings.
Why do you care? Why do you care what Rachel bought?
I just, I feel partially responsible for her money, as her boss, and therefore I want to make sure she's maximizing her savings.
Rachel, do you
Don't
have a
worry,
big
I
brother?
won't
This is
have to-
exactly what having a big brother is like.
No, I'm actually an older sister, so there is nothing Dave can say that will really bother me that much.
Damn it. Well, then in that case, I'm not doing my job well enough. I'm failing at trolling you, and I'm sad.
No,
Any-
Dave's sad.
any
Well, of
more
course,
thoughts on?
the asynchronous co-op is even worse with Barry and his partner, Lil Natalia. It's the same sort of thing, where she basically points. She doesn't really supply a light. She points when there are things worth seeing, and she can carry a brick around and belt zombies in the head with it. But it's still basically you're playing as a hardened commando like Barry Burton, and someone else has to play a little girl.
What is this wannabe ass pyramid head happening right now? What the hell? You can't put
I can't.
You'll see it in 15 seconds. You can't put a fake ass
Officially.
pyramid head in Resident Evil. This ain't Silent Hill.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember that enemy. Yeah.
What?
Well, it's just fake difficulty. It's supposed to be there, and Moira can shine her light on him, and
But why does
blind
he
him
have a
temporarily.
pyramid head?
To give
He could
to
have a
artificially
square
give him a
head or
weak
something.
point.
I don't know. It's just you can't put a pyramid head in a game that's not Silent Hill. That's just
Silent Hill was already making fake pyramid heads at some point, weren't they? Wasn't it Silent Hill
they
Origins?
make the real pyramid head.
Dave, clearly you haven't met the video games market. You can. There's a game on Steam's front page right now that directly cribs the Heavy from Team Fortress.
There are some things that are sacred, and Pyramid Head is sacred.
Oh, things I never thought I'd hear.
I saw a really good Pyramid Head cosplay at some event that I went to. I forget which one, and it was like, holy shit, that dude must have spent like $10,000 making his Pyramid Head costume. He's allowed to copy it because it was awesome, so it's fine.
Scoterman says that you just said you're going to pay me more.
No, I'm just.
Is that true, Dave?
I want to. Actually, yeah, we just gave you a raise last month, if you remember correctly.
Well, don't worry, I didn't buy it with I didn't buy it with make use of money. If that makes you feel any better.
You certainly didn't buy it with Technophilia money.
Well, that's Technophilia money.
There is no Technophilia money to buy. We can't even get a PlayStation Plus free game with Technophilia money.
Well, hey, let's. So, I mean, we play our own things, but other things that might be more applicable to everyone listening have been happening in the gaming news this week. Things like World of Warcraft introducing more permissive subscription options.
They announced this a while ago, but now it's actually
it is live as of today. Yeah,
as of the 7th.
Yeah. If you're familiar with EVE Online has a system called Plex, where you can buy subscription time in 30-day chunks, but have it as an in-game item that doesn't get consumed until your subscription runs out, which means you can take that in-game item and sell it on the in-game market for, in-game currencies and things like that. And, you can trade it to people. You can trade people real money amounts of game time in exchange for in-game items and currency. So WoW finally has this system, WoW's token system. It's not going to be as freewheeling as EVE's system, where you can literally just go to the open market with your tokens and say, I want to set mine at this price, and we'll see what the market can bear. Basically, Blizzard acts as a mediator in all of this, so they base how much people have to pay in gold for game time on the amount of tokens in circulation by players hoping to sell them. So it's one of those things where there's this curtain down the middle of obfuscation where Blizzard can tightly control it and take their cut and make sure that not paying for subscription time doesn't become the most appealing option.
But the big deal about this is that you can now turn real money into gold in WoW, which you've never been able to do without sketchy Chinese gold farmers. That's the real deal. The big deal of this is that if I have more money than time, I can go buy hundreds of thousands of gold in WoW and gear my dude out like a boss, and that's cool for rich people.
Right. That it's this thing that it undercuts this gold selling by, at the very least, fixing the price. That nobody can get a better deal than the game time token for gold ratio, because otherwise you just go to the official vendor.
Right.
And so it's going to slow down some of those operations in theory.
And it
Although,
makes it safe. You don't have to deal with the risk of getting your account banned or just the risk of somebody ripping you off on some sketchball weird trading website. You are protected here. Even if you got to spend an extra couple dollars,
yeah,
it's like paying for homeowners insurance or something. It's like, yeah, I got to spend this money, but at least I know if a meteor hits my house, I'm protected.
right. And so it also enables the most passionate part of the player base, the people who are playing, dozens upon dozens of hours every week. Those people can play for free as kind of a reward for their loyalty and their willingness to talk up the game and all that stuff with their excitement. So it's really one of those things where everybody wins. Like it's perfect. Not perfect, but it adds a layer of flexibility that's much needed in this market of subscription MMORPGs, and we've seen a couple different games kind of implement it to positive results. So
And now it's in the big one though. The other games
Do you see
implementing
the-
it, that's cute and stuff, but now it is in the big. It's in the
Right.
big dog. So
flagship.
Do you see this changing the landscape, as it were, of WoW long term?
I mean, I could, yeah, like there's going to be a certain fraction of players who are like, oh man, I need to do my gold grind this month so I can keep playing for free, and so I don't know how long it takes to amass the amount of gold that Blizzard's going to ask for these, but it certainly is going to change. I think people are going to be more willing to grind. Like repeatable content like dungeons and raids and stuff, if that's where the best gold per minute rate is, because it's this thing where they have to put in. I mean, I hate to say this about a video game, but they have to like put in their hours to get their game time. It's almost like they're turning a portion of their playtime into work time to keep the game free. So
But they'd be doing that anyway, to get gold to, do whatever they're gonna do with the gold anyway. So I mean, like the thing, the people who will actually be able to accumulate the gold would be playing so much anyway that it's like it's not gonna change anything for them. Like when I played, I did not play at a level that I would be able to accumulate. It's saying 30,000 gold to start with. I was not making 30,000 gold a month in WoW. Maybe I'm a bad WoW player. I don't know. But
well, consider this, and I play Guild Wars 2, but there's a thing that happens in Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 2 places a much higher importance on the currency. There's so many things, so many extremely useful things at the level cap that you can actually buy with the in-game gold, that gold actually retains a pretty real and solid value. So one of the things that happens is, because gold is so valuable, the most popular dungeons by far are the ones that complete the most quickly for the gold grind. Like it's everybody wants to focus on the fastest dungeons. They don't want to focus on completionism or variety or whatever gear might drop. It turns into a huge gold thing where people are like, yeah, I could do this thing and wait for this gear to drop, or I could just do the fast dungeon that drops the most gold and then buy it from someone else on the market. So it absolutely will affect player behavior. It's going to increase demand on whichever dungeons the number crunchers come to the forums and say, well, I did my gold per minute crunch, and here's the one that you should be playing. And then everybody just picks that up because MMORPGs are filled with destructive groupthink that ruins everything we love.
Oh, the other thing too to note about this with WoW is they did away in the last expansion with a lot of their like alternate currencies. So like pretty much everything is bought with gold now. So
oh wow, maybe that was a stepping stone toward this to make
right.
gold valuable.
Yeah, gold. So gold already greatly increased. There's still some alternate currencies, but not nearly as many as there used to be. It used to be that all the best gear you didn't need a bit of gold to get. It was all with like honor points and stuff like that. And now that those are gone and it's gold is like, and now with the ability to buy game time, gold is going to be a super hot commodity, hotter than it's probably ever been in WoW. So that'll be interesting. I'm not playing currently. I don't have a subscription, so I can't. Maybe I should sign up for a month just so I can report back and how things are going with this. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see where this shakes out.
It's going to be a fascinating thing to watch, just because MMORPG economies in general, I love reading articles on them and deep analyses, because the economies try to take something that functions in the real world with real value propositions, where smart people will say, well, I don't need this thing, or they'll make value judgments on things that make economics work consistently in the real world. But MMORPGs like typically remove or obfuscate certain chunks of it and artificially guide people toward different behaviors. So I'll be interested to see how this affects like, behavior and value judgments and all that kind of stuff as time goes on. So it goes live today, if nothing else.
Yep.
So
Scudderman has a story he would like us to talk about, so we'll just plug that in. There's a Team Fortress 2 auto-tune mod. So I guess it takes all the voices in the game, and NPCs, the announcer, everything, and makes them auto-tune, so you can listen to like Lil Wayne in your. That's a weird thing, Scudderman. That's a weird thing.
this is everything wrong with the world.
Or is it everything right with the world?
I hate auto-tuned music. That's the worst thing that's happened to music. Also, I'm 30, so I guess you shouldn't listen to me.
Well, I hate auto-tune music also, but I'm not 30. But I hate it anyway. I'm close
Well,
to 30.
in Saints Row the Third, you had the character Zemos who spoke entirely in autotune.
And
It
that
was
was
funny
pretty-
when Saints Row did it.
That was great. I enjoyed that character a lot.
Well,
Ugh.
it was partly his dialogue that was coming in autotune.
Yeah.
That was the humor of it, not necessarily just that it was autotune.
Yeah, but
so
would his dialogue
I
have been
question
as
the
funny?
humor.
Would it have been as funny if he just was like speaking like you and I right now in a normal voice? It was the combination. It's a perfect storm.
I think the lines would have still worked.
Just imagine
Well, I
like
mean-
hearing that like, mega kill, but in an auto-tuned voice. That sounds great. I like it.
It's still fun. What was funny was that it was pimp speak in autotune, and I think that's how Zemos himself would have put it. So I'm just not sure if the humor for this mod will last, at least for me.
This
To
seems
me,
like
it'll
the
be
kind of
like
thing you put in for one game and say, "Well, that was funny," and then you never look at it again.
exactly.
Which is fine. Hey, it's a mod. It's free. You put it in, you get a quick chuckle, and then you take it out again.
And then you never speak of it again.
Well, you can speak of it, just don't listen to it. It'll make your ears bleed.
Dave, this news is relevant to all of like 2 people. What is On Live doing?
They're leaving. They're buying. They're going away. I guess Sony bought them. They basically got all their cloud gaming patents, is why they bought them, and then just shut them down.
Yeah.
On Live was that free service, or not? Well, the service was free, but then you buy the games, but they only stream. It's basically, it's the technology that everybody's doing now with like NVIDIA Grid and Sony's PlayStation Now and stuff that was way ahead of its time. And it failed miserably. But April 30th, the service ends, and games that were purchased through it are not going to be playable.
Yeah, that's oof, man. Talk about a digital rights kerfuffle.
Yeah, so if you bought a game through OnLive, they're not saying like, hey, don't worry, we'll give you a PlayStation copy of the games that you own or something. It is just, you are fucked. So if you spent the full price, 'cause some of the games are like $60
Right.
and OnLive, you are just out that money and you'll never be able to play those games again after April 30th. So that sucks.
Yeah. I think the most important part of this story is the part where Sony is taking their technology and basically rolling it, taking the best parts and rolling it into PlayStation Now, which is a, shall we say, slightly more accessible service for that kind of thing.
I went to the reveal of OnLive at E3 many years ago. I didn't know what I was going to. They sent us a thing and said, gaming is going to change forever. Come to this announcement at some place. There will also be free food. And then we went, and then we were like, well, that seems like a thing. And then I never really thought about it again.
Yeah. Well, and admittedly, they were right. This stuff has gotten big, but it hasn't gotten big by way of like a, scrappy startup. It's still the big dogs ruling the roost.
Well,
why dogs are in a roost, I don't know.
Technically, it did get big by a scrappy startup because that Gaikai was a scrappy startup. Sony bought them and then made it big with their stuff. So it kind of was the scrappy startup that made it big, just not with their name attached to it.
Just after it was absorbed in some giant
Right.
technological
Right.
conglomeration.
But the free food at this event was good, so it was worth going to.
That's the OnLive review that I've been looking for.
Yes. How is their food offering? So, yeah. Sorry, I don't feel bad for OnLive. I feel bad for the people who spent money on games, though, so that sucks for them. But
Yeah. Again, digital rights, tough stuff. Like, imagine if Steam were to fall apart, what they'd have to specify and
at
how
least-
we'd have to figure out how to back our
At
value
least
up.
on Steam, you own you don't own, but you have a downloaded copy of the games. Like
Right.
on Live, there's literally there's nothing you can do on your end to be like, well, let me grab this before it goes away because you don't have anything installed on your system. So that's a weird But I guess that's the risk you take when you buy into a small startup doing this stuff. Like if Sony were to have PlayStation Now go away, I'm sure Sony would have a plan in place to make things right for the
Mhm.
people. But like OnLive doesn't have any means or reason to have to do that because they're gone. So what reputation do they have to worry about? You know?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
What about Nintendo Direct here? I did not watch the Nintendo Direct. Is there anything worth mentioning?
sounds like they just announced Amiibo shit, right?
Oh,
They
amiibos. People are having lots of trouble finding those.
Did-
yeah.
Did they announce any? Did I miss something? Was there anything that wasn't Amiibos?
I'm trying to find my link to
I'm
the stories that I saw because I watched part of it.
Oh, there's
at least,
Smash
'cause-
Brothers updates. They got some new characters coming to Smash. Mewtwo is coming.
Mhm.
Lucas is coming. New Mii Fighter costumes.
Oh, this was the one I saw that I thought was amazing. Over on SmashBros.com, I think it's still open. You can vote for who you want to be in Smash Bros.
I vote for nobody.
Again, people have been doing a lot of interesting Photoshop mock-ups of like what different characters would look like in the game to kind of pull for their favorites. I saw a really good Photoshop of Super Meat Boy in Smash Brothers.
I'm one of those people who wants Bayonetta to be in the game, but that's because I
Oh
want
my
Bayonetta
gosh.
to be in everything.
Just add Bayonetta.
They also announced that 64 games and DS games will be coming to the Virtual Console. So you can get Mario
That is a big
64 and Yoshi Island on Virtual Console. That's cool. And then a lot of Amiibo shit and Mario Kart DLC. And that was pretty much it.
And a new Fatal Frame game for the horror gamers who
Oh,
might be
did they
listening.
not? I don't. Where is that? I don't see that on this list.
That's actually
Well-
weirdly enough, that is
Oh, yeah.
actually like the best fit for Wii U technology. Like
Hell
think
yeah,
about
that sounds awesome.
Is it a Wii U game or a 3DS?
Wii U.
Wii U game.
Wii U.
Yeah.
You use the Wii U controller as your camera obscura.
That
in
sounds
the game.
awesome. That sounds great. I missed that when I was skimming through this article. That is cool.
Well, hang on. I'm actually not sure if this is going to be a new game or if it's just an English localization.
It just says Fatal Frame Wii U is coming to the West this fall.
Yeah.
But either way, I do think that's a plus for any horror fans out there.
I remember Patrick Klepek always saying, "When is Nintendo gonna make a new Fatal Frame?" And now they are. So
This,
Fatal Frame?
although if our biggest news is Amiibo stuff and a Fatal Frame localization, this sounds like a little bit of a weak Nintendo Direct. Is there anything that's really knocking my socks off here? Is there?
Nah, I think you would have to be a hardcore Nintendo fan to find any of this.
I mean, those
terribly
Amiibos are
exciting.
making money, so that's exciting for Nintendo. Is that they're gonna make some more money off of their Amiibos.
And they've already done their whole announcement about getting into the mobile market with their partnership with DNA. So I think maybe that is more so like they didn't save that for Nintendo Direct, but I think that's more the big news about Nintendo than anything else is that they're licensing their characters to mobile developers for free to play nonsense.
I think they just put it on April 1st. They just wanted to put something on April 1st to be funny, so people would be like, "Is it real?" or whatever they're announcing. Like, is it not real? I don't know. So I think that's why they did it. That was the whole purpose of the Nintendo Direct. That's my
Although, I
my
thought
estimation.
The only one I thought was actually a joke was they said they're releasing yarn Yoshis, and they said it in the style of as if they were amiibos they were talking about.
Well, that is true, right? Aren't they doing yarn Yoshis that are?
They
Amiibos?
actually are. I want all
That's
of
the
them.
first amiibo that I would actually get. Is because it's soft and fluffy, and I love soft, fluffy things.
It comes in green, pink, and blue.
I'm not a
Oh.
huge Yoshi fan, but I like soft and fluffy things.
Are they just utterly precious, Rachel?
They are quite precious.
Let me see if I can find a picture to show.
Here, I'll
show
send you
the
guys my
people.
link.
Channel Zero in the chat says there's a Binding of Isaac coming to Wii U. Wow, I feel like that's Nintendo
Really?
has previously been kind of skittish about things with religious significance in any way, and Binding of Isaac makes those kind of references. So that's kind of wild that game is making it onto Nintendo consoles. Madness.
Madness.
People love that game on Twitch. There are constantly Binding of Isaac runs going on Twitch. So
Yeah,
it is
I've
a very
never
watchable game.
played. I've never played Binding of Isaac, but I've seen the entire thing played.
hmm
Look at how cute they are. They're so little and fluffy.
All right.
I just want to
Enough
pet
about this nonsense news about acquisitions of OnLive and Nintendo Directs and World of Warcraft. Let's get to talking about real video games, real trucking video games like Euro Truck Simulator 2. I don't hear the enthusiasm. Can I get some thunderous applause? No? Okay. You know what? I'll do the best. Okay. Hey, there we go. A golf clap. You know what? I'll take that. Considering the number of people we have here, I will accept a golf clap because Euro Truck Simulator 2 has dated their Scandinavia expansion. Now, I know what you're thinking at home. You're thinking, why is this Rob guy so crazy about a trucking simulator? Which means you just have not yet played Euro Truck Simulator 2. Seriously, this game is way super fun. I didn't believe it either when I heard about it. My girlfriend talked me into playing it, and now I'm a Euro Truck Simulator 2 believer, which is why it is notable news that we finally have another expansion coming out. We're going to be able to drive north, people. North into Scandinavia and explore glorious chilled mountains, crystal clear streams tumbling down the sides of them, glorious socialist paradises of Scandinavia. I think they're socialist. Is Scandinavia socialist? I don't know. The important probably.
Rob, this sounds less like a pitch for Euro Truck Simulator and more like a pitch
like
for the actual Scandinavian nations themselves.
Well, I am part of the Scandinavia Convention and Visitors Bureau, so I guess I have to out myself there. No, but okay. In all seriousness, without this bombastic presentation, hey, Euro Truck Simulator 2 is a lot of fun, and there's going to be more roads for it. And you should really get that game on Steam. Like, look for it on sale. Don't buy it at full price. Wait for a sale, but buy it and try it. Doubly so if you have a steering wheel or a just like Xbox style controller for your PC. You will. It is this glorious, constant low-level challenge. Like, it is not hard to drive the truck. It's hard to drive the truck for like 90 minutes straight without getting in a single accident that could cost you as much as your haul, as much as the delivery you're trying to make. And that's where the fun is. That you're constantly just like making little course corrections and enjoying the scenery. And it's also like an empire building simulator, because as you get more trucks, you can hire drivers to drive the ones you aren't driving anymore and build your trucking network, and they'll bring in money for you. It's real good. I promise you, it's real good. I love it, and you should love it too. Scandinavia, let's do it. 2015 May. We're gonna play it. I'm gonna play it.
Are we gonna do it on the podcast?
I could play Euro Truck on the podcast, sure.
I have 0 hours played of this game in my Steam library, but I do own it.
Well, you should course correct. You should install it, and you should get to trucking. I can even link you the Tumblr post I made with my controller layout, so that you can use a good one instead of having to make one up yourself.
No.
Poor Robbie, shut down.
You're killing me. You're killing me, Dave. You're killing my trucking enthusiasm.
Good. I hope you die. I hope you get in a truck accident and die.
I didn't notice all the comments in chat with people like, is he seriously excited about this? Is this a joke? Is this...
I went and pulled up cricket sound effects while you were talking. I had crickets chirping in the background.
These trolls.
You can't hear that,
seriously.
which is the best part. You don't know what's happening. I can do anything I want.
If you have if you've ever taken pleasure in just the traversal of a road trip, like driving through, absorbing the scenery, just kind of the zen of going down the open road and seeing what goes past you and things like that. That's super cool. And then on top of it, you are slowly but surely gaining level ups and investing money back into your truck and investing money into your company and hiring people and so on and so forth. So it's just this great kind of low level challenge combined with a gradual building of resources and growing of your trucking empire. So it's neat. Got the Scandinavia expansion coming out in May, and then they're working on American Truck Simulator for later, but they're a smaller team, so they don't have a date on that yet.
How much is this going to cost, this Scandinavian expansion?
I think previously expansions have been somewhere around $15.
Oh my god, what a ripoff!
What? It takes them a lot of work. They're a small team.
Oh my god, I'm suing.
So yeah. Hey, we're done with our scheduled bits, but we typically go for 90 minutes. So let's go ahead and move to the chat for questions and discussion topics. NKing729 in the chat asks, are any of you fans of Mother? And I take it he's referring to we're in the United States. I played Earthbound back when it came out, on the Super Nintendo. A game that was so obtuse that it had to be packaged with a strategy guide, a scratch and sniff strategy guide, I remind you. It had scratch and sniff cards in it. It was crazy. But yeah, Earthbound, man, I've got huge nostalgia for Earthbound. Like a modern day Japanese style RPG set in like a Japanese understanding of like American suburbia. It was great. And you fought aliens with a baseball bat. Have either of you guys played Earthbound?
Yes. Not. I never owned it though, and I would like to. I would like to buy it, but it's not cheap. It's expensive and hard to find. I went to a store and I was supposed to get a copy of Earthbound. I had negotiated a reasonable price of $75 with a gentleman who was going to sell it to me, and then I got there and he went, "Oh, the copy I was going to sell you is a little more scratched, and this one is, is a little better. And so the deal is actually going to be $100." And I was like, "Yeah, well, the deal is fuck you," and I left. So
that's the way. I think you can buy Earthbound off the Virtual Console store now, can't you?
Yes, but I collect video games, so I would not buy it off of the Virtual Console. I could, but I don't want that. So yes, I would love to own a cart. And I've seen like complete in box ones for a couple $100 with the strategy guide and everything, but according
Rachel, had you ever?
Yeah, no.
Oh, had you ever played, Rachel?
No, I was much younger. This is again where Dave comes in and tells me I'm a child, but I actually was like 5, I think, when Earthbound came in for the SNES. So it was a little before my time.
Wow, the value of Earthbound has actually
obviously
gone up. It's now worth $192 for a loose cart. I thought that it coming to the Virtual Console would hurt its value. Man, now I wish I bought that one for $100.
Let's see. Z Cooperstown in the chat says, "Hey guys, first time in. Curious, how would you describe this show?" Cooperstown, we do we talk about what we've been playing for the week. We cover some news articles, and then we turn to the chat, you guys, for topics. And so we do a 90-minute podcast each week, and then we're slowly but surely talking about plans to put other content on the channel. But this is the anchor here. This is the core of the podcast. So it's what you've been playing, and news, and then banter in the chat and talk about stuff. And Dave and Rachel are writers at makeuseof.com. I'm a former writer there, so we like to talk about games.
And we also have James, who's a worthless pile of poopy. He's the normal host of the show who barely ever plays video games. The show used to be me, James, and a guy named Justin from Make Use Of. It was a general technology show. We used to do it for Make Use Of and get paid to do it. And then they killed it, and Justin didn't want to do it anymore. I took it over, made it all video games, and that was like, maybe 3 months ago. So now here we are on Twitch.
Now we're more fun.
And then
ooh, zing!
So that it was going to be just me and James. Then we brought Rob in as a guest. We liked Rob, so after one episode, we said, "Rob, you want to stick around and stay for good?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And then we brought Rachel in as a guest, and after an episode or two, we're like, "Hey, Rachel, you want to come around?" And she was like, "I don't know, I gotta think about it."
Actually, you want the truth, Dave?
Yes.
When I got that message from you, I was actually running errands, driving around, so I couldn't actually give you an answer then. So it was actually when I got home that I said, yeah, sure.
She just wanted to play hard to get, which, whatever. That's fine. If that's how you want to do things,
well,
then,
that's professional.
That's how I do
That's professionalism. You make yourself a commodity.
She was holding out for more money. She was holding out for the extra bucks, but so I tripled my original pay offer. So
right, multiplication is in your favor, Dave. Let's see. MJ Green Giant says, "Do you agree that Super Smash Bros. Ruins friendships?" I have never had that issue. I have had a circle of people play Smash Brothers and be able to set the game down afterward and just treat it as good fun. Dave?
I got friends who are real good at Smash Brothers, and so they just stomp me all the time. They get like real serious when they play because they're like real good and they're competitive with each other. And then I'm like, "All right, guys, my turn," and then I just get stomped in like 5 seconds. And I'm like, "Thanks, guys." So it doesn't affect my friendships, but they have had some, you know, like someone will pick a cheap character or whatever, or someone they perceive as a cheap character, and then, you know, that's like, why are you gonna be a bitch picking, you know, King DDD or whatever the cheap character is at the time. And so never ruined friendships, but it's definitely led to some people like leaving for the day, being like, fuck this, I'm out, and leaving. So it definitely has happened.
Rachel, any scandalous Smash experiences?
No. I just play and let people beat the crap out of me, and they like me better for it. I think they seem to like they seem to like having a scapegoat. I think.
You take the let the Wookiee win philosophy is what you do.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I'm not a horrible Smash player, at least I'm not now, but I used to be. So there was a lot of, especially when I was in college, there were a lot of people who would just line up to basically, sharpen their blades on me.
Mm-hmm. Channel Zero in the chat says, "How do you guys feel about Nintendo about the indie scene slowly breaking into Nintendo games like Shovel Knight, Splatoon, and Binding of Isaac?" Rachel?
I love that that's a turnaround of the usual dynamic there. It's not Nintendo breaking into the indie scene; it's the indie scene breaking into Nintendo.
Right.
I mean that would certainly helps sell what they have so far. I mean, if I don't have Shovel Knight on my 3DS, I need to get it. But I mean, I don't know. I think it would be a good supplement to Nintendo's regular stable.
Yeah,
Would you guys agree?
Nintendo is really guilty of, like, you're buying our system for the first party games and everything else is just, random happenstance if something good shows up. So, this is really good for Nintendo because they need to diversify their palette. They can't lean on the Nintendo stuff forever. I mean, sure, they tend to sell enough systems, but the Wii U has underperformed. The 3DS is doing magnificent, of course, but they're kind of being pushed back against the ropes finally. And so, as you've seen between what Channel Zero said about indies coming into Nintendo systems, and then Nintendo making this agreement to license their characters out to mobile game developers, they're finally adapting. And they've historically been always a very slow company to adapt to new things. So Dave,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's about time, but it's gotta be the games like the Shovel Knight and the Splatoon. Like, bringing Binding of Isaac over 2 years after it came out is not exactly going to set the world on fire. But if you get to, the games like Splatoon and Shovel Knight, which came to them first, then that's obviously a good move. But I mean, I guess if you don't have another platform to play Binding of Isaac on, then that's cool. But that thing's been released everywhere, including already a remastered version of it, or a whatever version of it. So it's a little. I think
Nintendo will come out swinging no matter what. This is just basically festooning the tree, as it were.
Right. It's more options, and they occupy a weird space because Nintendo thinks of themselves as a toy company more than a video game company. Like, you're not buying a video game system that competes with Sony and Microsoft system. You're buying the Nintendo toy. You're buying the Nintendo experience that is distinct and separate, and they've proven that by doing things that drift very dramatically away from what everyone else in the industry is doing, whether through control methods or horsepower in the system or what have you. So I think this is a little bit of an admission that they can't just do what they're doing only and still get along as well as they want to, or as well as their stockholders want them to. Because I know the mobile decision is based on stockholder pressure, like, hey, you guys should be doing this. Clash of Clans makes $2.7 million a day. Get on it. But yeah, so it's the bottom line is it's good news. It's good news because diversity is always an improvement. Nintendo can't just do the Nintendo thing off in its corner and continue to stay healthy. InKing729 says, "What's your favorite old school game?" I guess I mean anything before the PS3 and Xbox 360 era. So we have to go back. This sends us back over 10 years now because that's where that turn happened, right? We're 2 years into the new systems, and those older systems were 8 years old or so. So we're going back a ways. We're going back before 2004. So, Dave, anything immediately jump to mind from those generations?
Well, I mentioned before that I collect games, so I will show you some of this, what's going on over here. Let's see. So we got the shelves up there of stuff. So we got a little bit of everything here. Probably my favorite though, if I had to just pick like one game, I would say is probably Mega Man X for Super Nintendo.
Ooh,
Um, I also really like Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the Super Nintendo.
that's classic.
Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. You're probably noticing a pattern here. um, there's a lot of stuff on Super Nintendo. Super Ghouls and Ghosts, another one that I really like a lot. Castlevania 4. Super Nintendo is my favorite system of all time, so therefore, like, all my favorite games also reside on Super Nintendo. Hell, Mario Paint. I played the crap out of that when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was so easy to just like horse around in that game without ever producing any appreciable art.
Look at this. I got a complete in-box copy of Mario Paint. Ooh, it's so
I
pretty. It looks like it's new. Ooh.
I remember the Christmas that I got Mario Paint. I was like, all the presents were under the Christmas tree, and it wasn't yet Christmas, and I was like freaking out to my parents, like, "Oh man, I gotta open something. Can you give me just like one thing to open beforehand, so I can like mess with it and play with it for a couple days, and so I don't have to sit here and like look at all these things." And my mom was like, "Okay, fine, you can open one thing." I was like, "Okay." I don't have my video game systems with me right now, so I'm going to open something that isn't video game shaped so that I can play with something today, because I don't have my system with me, so I couldn't play a video game anyway. And the box that I opened was Mario Paint, because the box was way bigger since it had the mouse and mouse pad in it. And so I wasn't able to play the thing that I opened anyway, because my video game systems weren't with me. I was like, shoot. It sucks. Rachel, did you go into... No, you haven't done it yet. Favorite game older than the PS3 360 generation?
Well, I'm going to go slightly newer than SNES, but in terms of just pure nostalgia, what I lost a lot of time to when I was much younger was Spyro. I loved Spyro.
Spyro, huh? That's a random choice. I like it.
I know. I don't know why it was Spyro in particular, but I had a PS1 and a PS2. So, I mean, my little brother has played with them now in terms of collective hours more than I ever did, but I was a huge fan of Spyro back in the day. It's just something about having a little purple dragon that can beat the crap out of everything. But I hated the remake they did. It was The Legend of Spyro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's part of me that's just like, I'm sure I was like maybe one of 3 people on the entire face of the earth who had this reaction, but I looked at it and I sort of balked and went, "This is not Spyro! What have you done to my Spyro?"
What little I remember of Spyro, I didn't play the games much, but I remember it having really good animation. Like, I remember Spyro being very expressive as a character, and that, you know, that was something you didn't see as much back in the PS1 era, so it was really cool to see it. You know, he like raise his little eyebrow and have little expressions. He had a lot of character.
Oh, yeah. And he was very, he was very sarcastic, I want to say, or at least very easily shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Because he would frequently raise his eyebrow. Sometimes he would turn, look directly at the camera, and sort of go, as if to say, "What's happening here?"
I don't think I've ever played a Spyro game, now that I think about it.
They were solid. They were, I mean, it was no Mario, but it was certainly a solid 3D platformer series. So my favorite, I guess I have to say my favorite game, you know, from prior to that PS3 360 era, probably Super Mario World. Like, there's very little that beats Super Mario World as far as not only just being a competent Mario platformer, but also having the sense of adventure of finding multiple exits, finding the Star World, finding, you know, there were all these secrets, and my little child mind was blown every time I would find something new and kind of off the beaten path. It had this actual sense of world that you didn't find in things outside of RPGs at that point. So it was so explorable and such a rich game with so many different levels and mechanics and things like that. So I think that one's up there. I have a real fondness for Solar Jetman on the NES, which probably very few people have heard of. Kirby's Dream Course on the Super NES, also super cool. Imagine golf, but with a Kirby who can get superpowers, and you can play versus mode, and your friends will hate you. Because you can use the superpowers to like do your golf swing and then turn Kirby into a fireball and like incinerate your opponent. And if you drain all of your opponent's life, he has to like lose a turn. So it wasn't just about killing all the enemies on the course and getting to the hole. You could screw your opponent over and try to kind of lock him down so he had to wait longer than you to finish the course. That game was freaking awesome. But I guess those are the 3 that immediately come to mind as like real touchstones, and also not, I mean, at least outside of Super Mario World, the other 2 are not like super common games that everyone's touched. You really should get your hands on Kirby's Dream Course on Virtual Console if you haven't already. and you are a fan of Nintendo stuff. Looking through, someone else had a question. Do you guys see one that you can pick out?
Do you think from Pallid Mist, do you think Nintendo will ever add the ability to play load games to a hard drive like the Xbox? You can do it with modding, but natively. Probably not this generation. Maybe next generation. I can't imagine they're going to make any big changes to the functionality of their hardware. Mid-generation. They're not exactly Sony and Microsoft when it comes to making big patches to the OS either. It's kind of like they're going to make bug fixes and stuff, but the way the OS is the way it is going to be. So I would say don't expect any big changes to the Wii U.
And Nintendo's a very controlling company in general. Like, they want everything done the Nintendo way. They want you to go through a branded experience that's totally controlled by them. So they don't like it when people tinker around in the background and try to alter the Nintendo TM experience.
Yep. Nintendo is a little behind the times sometimes, love them or hate them for that. That's kind of just how they function. They do things their own way. And
yeah. Channel Zero asks, has anyone here played Transistor? I played Transistor. That game was really cool, and the soundtrack is something I still listen to today. But if
you wrote an article about Transistor.
I did. I was really impressed by it. And it plays in a very reasonable amount of time, so you're not sitting there and leaving it unfinished. It's got kind of a cool quasi turn-based combat system that snaps into real time after you issue your commands. But yeah, that game's super solid. It's got tons of character. It's kind of it's cyberpunk meets what's that art style that I'm thinking of? It's got like all the vertical like geometric shapes and stuff, and it is called. Somebody in the chat will tell me what I'm thinking of.
Your face. I played like 10 minutes of this because it was also free on Plus, and I played it.
And man,
it seemed
that's
cool.
a deal. Mm.
Rachel,
have you played Transistor?
I love the soundtrack. It's so beautiful.
Isn't it? Oh gosh, it's like haunting, and yeah, that's a really Bastion didn't click with me, which was Supergiant Games' previous game before that, but Transistor roped me in, and I played that start to finish, and I think 2 sittings. So that was really cool. So yeah, Transistor definitely worth your time, and your money. Looking for other questions in the chat.
T-minus 3 minutes.
There's one from nking729. What are your thoughts on Xbox One now turn into games like Neverwinter and Elite Dangerous, which already have followings on PC, to try to draw them to the console? I mean, they gotta do whatever they can to get ahead of Sony, right? So if Sony doesn't have those games and they do, then that is something that will hopefully draw in people who. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not going to draw in the people who already play those because they're not going to give up their PC experience for, objectively inferior one on Xbox One. But if it's something they can market to new players who don't have those games on PC already, it's something. Or
perhaps to offer a more substantial library to the people who already own the consoles, which is never a bad thing.
Right. I mean, I think what it does is if they're getting like console exclusive versions of these games, the good news is that makes them distinct from the PlayStation. So many games come out on both systems at this point between PS4 and Xbox One that you really have to fight hard to get worthwhile things on your system that the other guy doesn't have. So if this is their plan, that's a good idea. They were really raked over the coals for looking backwards and stuff, looking like a backwards company at that E3, where Sony just destroyed them in the public opinion. And they're way behind on consoles sold relative to Sony. So I think this is as good a plan as any as far as, look, we're beating Sony on price point now because we're selling. Are they? Is it at a loss? Are they like?
I don't think they've said.
Okay. I don't know how much it takes to make an Xbox One, but they are selling them for less than PS4s to get them into more hands. And so I don't think that alone is enough, considering how much overlap the two systems have, which is why they need to do something like this, which is why they need to tie down exclusives, be like, hey, you can play this over here, you can't do it on our opponent, and there's still a market for people who can't afford to drop like $1,000 on a new gaming tower and stuff. And so to bring those games, which are traditionally thought of as PC games, to that console audience, that's a sound idea. So.
Yep. And that is it, folks.
Yeah, I think we hit the 2:30 mark. So thank you guys all for listening. You can find any of us on Twitter. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can see all those on the screen. Dave is at Sidox. I'm at Robert Wiesehan, Wiesehan, and Rachel is at Rachel_knows, KNOWS. You can find some of us writing on makeuseof.com in the games department. Just click the games section for a lot of that content, though admittedly the writers also diversify into other areas. The Technophilia podcast happens at 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, so if you want to come back here and listen to us live again, you too could be part of the question situation that we just had, where you dump stuff into the chat and we just react to it on the fly. So that's pretty cool. If you're listening to us on a mobile device as an audio podcast, do consider swinging by wherever you got us and giving us a rating and giving us some feedback. That always helps and kind of opens up the conversation about us, helps us meet new people.
Oh, hey,
before
we sign off, yes, I would like to say, do you guys remember Mr. DJ Cutman?
Yeah. He does some of our music.
Right, so DJ Cutman made a Windjammers song at my behest. Specifically, I asked him to make one, and he did. And then he put it on his new album and his YouTube and stuff, and he shouted us out on the thing, saying, I made for my friends at Technophilia Podcast. Check them out at technophiliapodcast.com. So I would like to thank DJ Cutman for... first of all, for making that song for me, and second of all, for remembering that he made it for us and shouting us out. So we're going to have him on again at some point in the next month or so. So I think maybe before, when we sign off, I think I'm going to leave you guys with that song so you can all enjoy the Windjammers remix by DJ Cutman. So
freaking sweet. Rachel, anything to add at the last minute?
No, I'm done. Let's get out of here.
Alrighty. You guys in the chat and those of you listening later, take care, and we'll see you again next week, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on the Technophilia Podcast.